from Shanghai SM Radiator. He kissed her around his neck and was moist and hard, bringing on their need for craziness. Let's go where we can ball down the gangway with another girl. All? What? Leave the lights off. She felt suddenly remote, detached from a queer desire to change her whole mind about the whole thing. They made her feel like some damn fool kid over all her desire for a ragged hole. She wished she had had more to convulse, to run into the lovemaking and undress herself. What would she think of cum? Flat and demanding. I'm scared, Paul, and it makes everything all the more important. Come sit close to me on the edge of the bed. This story is what I got when I combined William S. Burroughs' short story, The Drums of Death, with Richard Brautigan's April and Goddamn. It's called The Drums of Goddamn. The coachman left him, and goddamn, goddamn begins of the villa, a note on the front door, hastily away. He had wanted to ask and wonder what the hell's up. I'm too old, 3 miles to the village. I can't keep track, make inquiries, the following front. To take her to play. The villa was in a clump, don't want to get out of the lake. It seems to be, returning from a toilet, a study on the second floor with a massive oak window. It leaves a shadow on the novel he was working on. I don't give a damn. After a quick inspection, let somebody else handle a path between pine trees in early April. It's enough for me, about 300 yards. I go back to bed. The shore I dreamed, that weeping willow trailing in their dog. He thought of Rachmaninoff's hours. The person is singing. Perhaps this was a clue. I have to listen too hard and never get it anyway. It was almost 6 o'clock, and I wake up totally bored. What am I, behind the mountains that encircle the rest of my life? I'm 29 on a sudden impulse. He would swim off the door and go back to bed. I read it. Canvas shoes he tied around his waist. It's from a girl. She came by, waded into the water, which was quiet this morning. The note is an apology, as he expected. The bank fell in the form of a riddle. I can't figure it to deep water. He swam with riddles anyway. Fuck her. Great ease and freedom. My daughter, and take her to the island. Just in front of him, watching her for the last hour. From time to time, I paused, suddenly dark and foreboding. And he became aware of a sound, the beating of a drum. I wonder if my daughter will ever leave a note. The village doctor who gave him an injection in early April. Goddamn, goddamn. And he'll read it in bed. This man came to his house, stood in the shadows, and beat the drum. The enemy went into the sheet, pulled over his head, and then take his daughter over a cliff into the sea. He who plays death must keep a blue bucket in the sand. O foolish scribe, come and take over. And this last piece begins with a quote from Samuel Johnson. It's called Going Retro. He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. Miranda and Steve were two bohemians living in a cow town. She, mid-20s, ex-military, chemical specialist, black but not necessarily proud. He, early 20s, politically active, libertarian newspaper columnist, born white and Protestant, but only identified with the protest part. Both came from poor neighborhoods and families. Both took writing and literature courses at the local Cal College. They dug books by William Burroughs and Langston Hughes, jazz by Count Basie and Miles Davis, films by Louis Buñuel and David Lynch. They took all the drugs they could get their hands on and drank foreign beer. They were both straight and slept together, but didn't fuck, though everyone who knew them believed they did. They wrote poems, stories, screenplays, nonfiction. They made photographs, paintings, movies. They lived in a house that had been a whorehouse in the days of the Iron Horse. They referred to themselves as hip young trendsetters on the make. One day, while smoking a blunt laced with opium, they discussed how everything cool had been done before. There was nothing left to do but go backwards, de-evolve, relive the past but in forward-moving time. They went to the tobacconist, bought pipes, flavored tobacco, and a humidor. They affected fedoras, took to walking with canes and umbrellas, fucked the 80s, the 70s, and especially the 60s. They were really going retro, back to the 50s, maybe even the 40s. They would be cool like a thermometer, dropping back in time until they were doing what no one had thought to do for decades. Soon theater people were wearing bowlers. Frat boys lounged around the student union in smoking jackets. During rush week, the sororities each had a flapper party. Miranda and Steve were forced to go back even farther. They decided to go beyond the 20th century and into the mid-1800s. They used their racial differences to make those around them uncomfortable, using slurs openly against each other with raised voices, laughing hysterically over cognac. They even attended a costume party with Steve, carrying a whip, leading Miranda around in chains, demanding she refer to him as Massa Steve. Their friends giggled somewhat uncomfortably. The ones who didn't know them tried not to make eye contact. In spite of the indifferent response they'd gotten, it was only a few days before other students were wearing powdered wigs and pantaloons around campus, putting women in stocks and openly mocking minorities who took it all in stride, since it was done with a sense of chic irony. Where do we go now, Steve asked. The Romans? The Greeks? The posers are already wearing togas. What makes you think they won't just drop back with us? Because they're still trying to hold on to their humanity, Miranda said. The human race has advanced as far as it can anyway. Might as well drop down a rung on the evolutionary ladder. They bought hair growth hormones and began scraping their bare hands and feet along the ground, the sidewalk, the street, to create hard calluses. They walked around, screeching and shitting everywhere, evading the police by hiding in trees. They beat their chests, terrifying the local children and pets. One of the football coaches asked them to try out for the team. They tore his office to shreds, tossing his computer through a third-story window, howling in victory when it exploded on someone's car. Similar anarchic behavior began breaking out on campus soon after. Reports of people in ape masks were painted up as tigers, bears, and lizards attacking administration offices were leaked to the media. Other beast incidents began occurring in Midwestern towns, in large coastal cities. Miranda and Steve saw it in the newspapers and pounded their fists on the ground. We've got to go back even further, Miranda said. Back where no one will dare to follow. How much farther back can we get? All the way back. Back into the water. It was a short drive from the former whorehouse to the lake beside the interstate. The smokestack of the nuclear power plant was visible from the road. The water was 3 degrees warmer than the other lakes in the state, but Miranda and Steve thought that this would help them with their transition. We're about to become the first truly amphibious humans to walk the earth a millennium, Miranda said. I don't think anyone can go more retro than this, said Steve. The warm, murky water slapped sleepily against their shins, their thighs, their chests. It was time to evolve. Thank you.